Welcome friends, and thank you once again for tuning into Chilled Guitar Reviews. This video has come about almost directly off the back of you guys, so I have you guys to thank for the fact that I am sat here with this beautiful and formidable Ibanez Axion label 7-string guitar. Now, a couple of weeks ago I reviewed an Ibanez Prestige 7-string, and that review went down supremely well with you guys, surprisingly. Whenever I review a 7-string, I'm never sure if it's going to be well received or how many of you are going to be interested, because 7-string clearly has a lot less players than standard 6-string does. However, that video seemed to go down really well with you guys. Lots of views, lots of comments, lots of interest, and lots of talk in the comments about whether you felt that guitar was worth its £2,000 price tag. Within that video, I referenced what I thought would be kind of the budget equivalent of that guitar, which was this, the Ibanez RGDALPA71 ALPA. And I thought, what better follow-up video than to get that exact guitar in for a review and do a comparison with it to that Ibanez Prestige. This guitar has kindly been supplied for review by our friends at Live Louder, the most metal independent guitar shop in the UK. Live Louder specialise in stocking the most cutting-edge, heavy metal focused instruments from manufacturers such as Legator, Ormsby, ESP, Ibanez, many more. If you like the look of this guitar, it's available direct right now from Live Louder. Just follow the link in the video description. Now, this guitar is almost half the price of that Ibanez Prestige that I reviewed, and I think it would be really interesting to see how well it stacks up, given that you're spending only around 50% of the money. Now, both this and the Prestige model that I reviewed a couple of weeks ago were both launched in 2021 and have continued to be available all the way through to the 2023 model year. Now, this guitar forms part of Ibanez's Axion label range, which is kind of their upper mid-range kind of price point. So this is more towards the top end of what Ibanez offer before you get to the full-blown Prestige line, and then above that J Custom. So the Axion label guitars tend to be higher in price, kind of 800 to 1200 sort of quid. They tend to be offered in very unique or mostly high-end finishes with excellent choices, mostly of hardware as well. So in comparing this guitar to the Ibanez Prestige, you may be surprised to find that the specs are really close, if not maybe slightly better in some places. So starting from the headstock down, we see this is a made in Indonesia guitar, which has exactly the same locking Goto machine heads that the Prestige model had. We have the always unwelcome addition of a plastic nut, which I never like to see, as you know, on this channel. We have the same nickel frets, not stainless steel, again exactly the same as the Prestige model. And just like the Prestige, these have also been given the Sub-Zero fret edge treatment. I'm not 100% sure what that is. It has something to do with treating the nickel frets to lower temperatures, which is supposed to harden them, make them more durable. I don't know how well that works, and if any of you out there have had one of these guitars with the Sub-Zero treatment long term, I would really be interested to know how those frets have held up, so do let me know in the comments. A beautiful 5-piece neck with, again, a Mesa ebony fingerboard. We have the beautiful addition of a set of Bareknuckle Aftermath pickups, a Alnico in the neck, a ceramic in the bridge. Sounds aside, which we'll talk about soon, these pickups just look utterly amazing and unlike any other pickup out there. Big shout out to Bareknuckle, who are based in the UK, only about a couple of hours from where I am. We have an Ash and Naito body with a poplar burl top, The top on this is really nicely done. On this particular example, the book matching is really nice. I'm not that strict and that anal about book matching. I know some people are. I really, personally, I'm not that fussed. But the book matching on this example is really nice. Something I really appreciate about the top in this guitar is that there are uneven kind of dimples and knots and pits in the wood that just feel so nice and tactile to kind of run your hands over. This extends all the way to the back of the guitar, where the grain of the wood again can be felt through the finish of the guitar. It's something that just feels like super premium, catches the light in a really nice way, and I know looks are subjective, but this thing just is such a cohesive guitar visually. So the pickups really are the center point, and I feel like the finish, the paint choices, the top choice, the headstock, it's all kind of been arranged around the pickups. So it kind of continues the theme that started off with the casing on the Bareknuckles. And like I said, I think this is just such a well executed, cohesive piece of visual design. Now, one spec point that does differ on this guitar from the Prestige is that the Prestige had proper lumen lay side dots and fret inlays. This has Ibanez's own brand glow-in-the-dark side dots, which work fine, but I have to be honest, they're not as bright as proper lumen lays, and they don't seem to last nearly as long when you charge them up with a UV torch either. On the plus side, a really cool addition to this guitar that a lot of people don't know about who own these Axion labels is the headstock Ibanez logo is also glow in the dark. It's such a cool little kind of hidden Easter egg of the guitar, and I really appreciate things like that. Just little bits of attention to detail. That is something I found that Ibanez do really quite well. Now, as seems to be the norm anyway, for most guitars around £1,000, this thing absolutely does not come with a case, sir. No, you will have to pay extra if sir would like a gig bag or a case or something to transport this thing in safely. What you do get though is an included set of shallow strap locks, so it's not a total loss in terms of case candy. Ergonomically, this thing stacks up really comparably to the Prestige. I mean, look, this is the Nitro Wizard 7 Ibanez neck. You guys know what you're going to be getting if you're buying an Ibanez with a Wizard neck. It has super rounded off shoulders, it's very thin, it's very flat. It just feels incredibly natural in your hand, and I think is probably geared slightly more towards lead players than rhythm players. But ultimately, if you can't find a comfortable position for your hand on a Wizard neck, you're probably not going to be able to find one on any guitar. The body is quite similar to the Prestige. It doesn't quite have the same attention to detail in terms of cutaways, rolled edges, all that type of thing, but it's really quite close. I would say this thing is a touch heavier than the Prestige. That's probably due to the inclusion of the burl top and all the extra paint and all that kind of thing. But I know what you guys really want to know. You want to know, how is this thing built? Does the build quality come in any way close to giving you what you get from that just almost perfectly built Japanese made Prestige that I showed you a couple of weeks ago? Well, I have to say, this thing is built well, but it does not have that thing that you get by spending the extra money on something Japanese made or custom shop made. And what I mean by that is it does not have the same attention to detail. The telltale inspection point for me when it comes to attention to detail is always the side of the neck. Are there any marks on the frets? Are the frets slightly sharp? Is there any paint imperfections, binding imperfections, that kind of thing? So as I did in that Prestige video, once again, here is a shot of the side of the neck of this Axion label Ibanez. As you can see, there's a few little paint marks on the edges of the frets. There is a slight finish imperfection in one of the glow-in-the-dark side dots, although when it's glowing you can't actually see that, which is okay. There are, as you can see, just minor imperfections, nothing that you couldn't really forgive of an Indonesian-made, mass-produced instrument. But here is the picture of the side of the neck of the Prestige, and you can see it is just absolutely immaculate. There is nothing there that shouldn't be there. You can really tell that before it's left the factory, somebody has looked at it and checked and corrected anything that needed to be corrected. And whilst this guitar is thoroughly pleasant acoustically, it's very bright, it's very snappy, being it's a bolt-on, it has an ash body, all that kind of thing. Again, you know, this may be an imperceptible thing to some people, but it doesn't quite have that kind of punch, that kind of overall tight resonant quality that I did get from the Prestige. Look, this is maybe something that only I can notice. The difference really is that small. And you may well find playing these two guitars back to back, you either don't notice a difference or you may even prefer this instrument. I mean, overall build quality is, I haven't noticed any major flaws. There's no sharp frets, there's no fret sprout, the pickup cavities are clean, the nut is set correctly with no residue or gaps or anything like that. I mean, look, this is as good as it should be for the money you're paying. Is it as good as the Prestige? No, it's not. But the difference is very, very small. And unless you really are a guitar player and a guitar enthusiast, I don't think that if you put these in the hands of somebody who wasn't overly familiar with guitars, really whether they would notice the difference. And I think maybe people would be shocked if you said to them, look, one of these is $2,000, one of these is $1,000 or there or thereabouts. Now, let's move on to what I think is the most crucial and most prominent difference with this guitar from the Prestige that I reviewed. That is the pickups and the way it sounds. Now, as you know, the Prestige 7 I reviewed comes with a set of Demarcio Fusion Edge pickups, which I did eventually replace. And in that video, you can hear some sound comparisons with the stock Demarcios and the pickups that eventually replaced them. As I mentioned in that video, the Demarcios that come with the Prestige are a perfectly acceptable pickup. They are quite neutral, they're not offensive in any way, but I really don't consider them to be anything special. Now, the fact this comes with a beautiful set of Bareknuckle Aftermath pickups, which I think it's fair to say are more expensive pickups than the Demarcio Fusion Edges, is maybe a surprising thing. Maybe you would expect to see this type of pickup on the Prestige, and I think you would be absolutely right to expect that, really. Now, in terms of sound difference, well, these could not be more different than something like the Demarcio Fusion Edge. The Bareknuckle Aftermath is an extremely unique pickup in my mind. It sounds totally different to your kind of classic metal pickups like the EMGs, the Seymour Duncan distortions, you know, all that kind of thing. But the approach with these pickups is very, very different. The idea seems to be to give you all the frequencies. So these pickups have masses of headroom. They're really not compressed at all. They are quite mid-range focused, but in a broad way, not in a way where there's certain frequency bands that are pushed, for example, like you would probably get from a Fishman Fluence Modern, where there is kind of a spike at a certain EQ band. No, the approach with these is there is a 10-foot brick wall of mid-range frequencies coming at you, and you better prepare yourself. So riffing out on this thing is such a different experience to playing through like an active set of pickups that I do normally play through, because you have a huge amount of headroom and mid-range focus. And what that means for you as the end player is that you can hear absolutely everything you're doing with this guitar, mistakes included. The upside of this is supreme clarity and presence in the room. If you're playing live, man, these things are just gonna cut through like nothing else. And if you are playing like super down-tuned drop A like I am here, the honkiness of those pickups just gives you so much clarity at those lower note registers. These pickups also have the addition of a separate coil tap switch as well. But the coil tap switch kind of doesn't really sound to me like coil tapping does on most other guitars I've tried with this feature. When you're playing clean stuff, again, there is so much transparency and it's almost kind of a sterile sound when you're playing with the coil tap engaged. But what this gives you is just such an excellent platform for adding like ambient effects like I like to do, or multi-tracking, or really anything like that. It's a very special, very unique sound that does take a little bit of time to get used to if you are coming from guitars mostly with active pickups, for example. The standard neck pickup sound for cleans is lovely. It has such a sweetness to the mid-range and just a really nice high-end roll-off, just exactly where you'd want it to be. But again, just like the bridge, the huge amount of mid-range frequencies there mean that your mistakes will be very, very audible if you make them. These pickups kind of inspire me to want to play and write real kind of staccato-y, like djenty, stop-start kind of riffage, because they are just so huge sounding and there's so much mid-range honk when you're playing those low notes. Now I know that pickups and sounds in general are very much a subjective thing. To me, these are like the definitive choice for modern metal players. Now, should the Prestige have come with something like this? In my opinion, it kind of should have done. Maybe not this particular set of pickups, but really something that is much more specialized, something that's a bit more expensive. I really think that should have been the pickup choice for the Prestige. And whilst these pickups are something quite a bit different to a traditional metal pickup, and they do take a little bit of getting used to, I can say that I thoroughly recommend them. Now, is this guitar just as good for half the price? Almost. That's my opinion. There are elements and aspects of this guitar that I really feel like should have come with that Prestige that I reviewed a couple of weeks ago. But equally, I can see what I am kind of missing out on this guitar by not having that Made in Japan badge, by not having kind of spent that full, price tag. Clearly there are differences. Are those differences enough to justify almost the same amount of money again as what this costs? Now that's the question I would be really interested to hear your guys' opinions on. So do let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much again for watching a chill guitar review. Please do like and subscribe to this video because it really helps me and encourages me to keep grinding on with the content for you guys. Better yet, you can financially support me via the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. Until the next chilled review, do take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.